Hello, Ido. It's good to see you. We have just seen three films at the awarded Etiudas at 32nd International Film Festival Etiuda&Anima. And we've just seen your film Power of the Mirror. And congratulations on the Silver Dinosaur.
Thank you so much.
The first question is, why did you want to make this film?
First of all, thank you to everyone for watching this film. Obviously, every opportunity to show it, it's very, very special. And again, thank you to the festival for this very special experience. Regarding your question, I would say my initial motivation was that in the moment while developing the film, I was in search of some sort of generational topic or a film that I could say, okay, this is my letter to my generation. But I didn't know yet what could it be, and I was in search of topics and like what was touching me, and I had a very peculiar situation where I was at the vacation with my friends. We were on the beach and I was just like playing with sand, just being completely zoned out. And at some point, I've noticed that I was playing with the shadow, like with basically with the sand within my shadow. So it felt like a bit weird for a moment, as if I'm like touching myself, but not directly. And this intimacy and at the same time peculiarity of this moment got somehow clicked in my head, and I remember that there was this myth, the Greek myth about Narcissus and Echo. So I decided to read it again, to remember it again, and I've read the Ovid's version, and that's how it started. That suddenly I felt that it was very relevant topic about, obviously narcissism, but like narcissism in many forms, and trying to understand why we are being in such society right now and what should we do about it. Yes.
Okay. Could you tell us some more about the actors, the actresses? How did you find them?
It was quite a long process. We had a very long casting with many, many actors and actresses and models. It was also for us quite important that we feature models as well because I've also researched a lot for this film. I went to Fashion Week in Berlin. I'm based in Berlin, and I really wanted to figure out that world because I felt that that world was fitting very well for what I was envisioning. And yeah, it was, we had, it was long because, it was very hard to find also, like, with student films, it's hard to find actors who are willing to go into the project with, like, very big time, like, how to say, time period of shoot because I had 12 days of shooting and many roles required a lot of days. And of course, it was for free. So, but we ended up casting consciously as like casting for the main role a model and for the rest of the roles professional actors because we felt that it was also a very interesting way of pushing even more this topic of image and how a model exists in the frame against how an actor exists in the frame. And yes, it was a very big luck with Akin because I was the main actor who played the role of Asta because I saw him and I immediately felt that he was modeling. He has this experience. He also was shot in one another like a short film, and I felt that there was such a melancholy to him despite his look and appearance, and I felt it was the right tonality for the character I was looking for this film. A certain like melancholy and fragility, and at the same time this intensity. There was intensity to him that I was also looking for. And for the rest of the cast, yes, it was professional actors, also young ones. For example, Sofia Ordanskaya, who played the role of Zoe, was a like graduate of theater school here in Berlin, UDK, and another actor was also an graduate from that school. And of course, for the role of Madeleine Zeldakaya, who is a well adult like professional actress and But it was a very good match, and it was really important for us that the constellation works. And yeah, it was like a very, very, very detailed process for sure.
Jest jakieś pytanie z publiczności? Można podejść do komputera i zadać pytanie, czy ktoś ma ochotę. I'm asking if there is any question from the audience.
Sure.
There is big work with the music, yes, like can you tell us more about, because this is a big work with big budget, and we know that your film is a school film, so how did you organize this budget, and could you tell us more about your work with all these scenes and this
Okay. Yeah, with great pleasure. So I guess I'll start with the musical aspect. I'm in general a director who really works very detailed with sound and music as well. For me, sound and music is as important as picture in film. For example, also regarding casting, when I cast actors, for me, it's also very important how their voice sounds like. What does their voice bring to me? What I feel when I hear them? And the same is about music. I'm trying always to basically not use music just as a comment or like just to say, okay, you should feel this, you should feel this. So I was trying to figure out how to create even more that sense that it's like gonna be this modern myth with where the characters are, they're modern, but they're also mythological. And I felt like suddenly this idea of choir appeared in my head. Back in the day when I had literature courses, we studied a lot Greek theater and Greek tragedies, and I remember the role of choir that it had in those pieces, and suddenly it just hit me that it could be also choir, but in this sense a bit different, in a more modern way, in that sense that the choir is the public, that the choir represents a character, a public, this very aggressive, dynamic that first praises Astor and then hates him and despises him. And I found it very fascinating and great, like part of the DNA of the film. It was like very fundamental. I think the idea with choir was from the beginning, from the very, very beginning of this idea. And regarding the further process, yes, we worked with my composer, Lena Radjevo, and with the scriptwriter that we wrote together, Levin San. We incorporated the comments from social medias from the very beginning as part of libretto. So we really planned ahead what they would sing, how they would sing it, because it was important that they don't just sing it. Obviously, it has to be something that can be recognizable by ear. And with choir music, it's not easy. So yeah, it was like very detailed process. And regarding the budget aspect, it's it's cool that you say that it's a big budget because there was a budget for sure. I wouldn't say it was like a low budget short film, with no money, but still it was not like crazy amount of money. But we still had basically we have at the university with the graduation films you have a chance to pitch your idea to two TV channels, like both are German TV channels. And if you win the grant, you win the grant, and they support you with the production. And we obviously knew that if we want to make this one happen, we need a bit more budget for sure. So we applied, we won the budget with Dreisat, 3 SAT, it's written. It's like basically a channel responsible for the whole German-speaking region. So Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and so on. Um, yeah, but you asked something particular about it, right? How was it finding it, right? Or
Yes, you can tell us.
yeah, yeah, I basically like, well, as I said, like, we won the funds from the TV channel. So, but also the thing is, like, it's a big compliment when you say that it's a big budget because, majority of things in the film actually we got for free. We got the hotel for free, which was insane, and it was like five-star hotel, and it was a big luck that they were closed for reconstruction, so they just let us into the whole floor. So we had like a whole floor for our team. It was great, and the costumes obviously like it was actually all of the almost all of the costumes except of the first runway show. It was yeah, fashion brands in Germany. Like we work basically with all of the fashion brands that are existing in Germany currently, like especially young ones. And it was a really great collaboration. It allowed us also, of course, to find great costumes despite not having that much budget for that. Actually, like again, only the first one at the very, very beginning of the film, there were the costumes made by the costume designer and her collective, who also comes, of course, from the fashion background. Yes, and other than that, but definitely choir was actually a big part of the budget. Actually, that was definitely the expensive part because we had to find the singers, we had to find the mixing engineer, and we had to organize it all that we fit into that budget. And yes, it was definitely a very complex construction, but it was a great job of Anton Reibold, the producer, who definitely made this happen.
So the fashion shows we see, they are just acting, not the real ones, yes?
I mean, yeah, of course, they're all constructed, none of them were real. We worked basically, we're looking for locations. So basically, we're building it from zero, coming up with set designer with ideas how to communicate that feeling that we wanted because we wanted definitely full control. And on a real show, you would not have any control at all. Um, Also, of course, we didn't have, like it was like very tricky to find extras because, of course, adult people they work during working days, and we were shooting exactly during that time, so it was definitely tricky trying to find the public that sits there, in the rooms. But definitely, we ended up again doing it and just rocking it, basically.
And when you did the research and you, I don't know, you came closer to the world of fashion, when you met those people, maybe this is a strange question, but no stupid questions. Could you tell us that this field of our society is kind like this, your main hero, a little bit without emotions, and the only moment when we see the emotions when he's like in the
Yeah, at the very end. Yeah,
one
yeah,
situation we can see that he just shows us something. Even the last scene when he meets Zoe, again he's like a wall. So could you tell us something more when you met those people?
yes, of course. It
Some
was like
experience.
it was intentional, of course, that it was like very risky, and I knew that it's a very risky concept to show a person with no emotions, a person with a very, very, very thick wall, and at the same time keeping it entertaining, basically. Um, but it was very important to me because during the research, there were many reasons why I chose particularly this industry to represent the topic that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I just happen to have many friends who are costume designers, of course, because I work in film and theater, and so of course you need to work with costume designers, and you end up finding the majority of them are in fashion. And so I just ended up going to their shows or going to the fashion week and just trying to research and talk to as many people as possible, models. I've talked with magazine editors, designers, every possible profession in that field. Like it was a very detailed research and interview. And what definitely appeared to me as something very surprising, especially when I talk with models, they would tell me about sometimes like about extremely abusive situations or very extreme situations out of their lives, but there was still this wall, like they were telling it was sometimes such a weird expression in their face as if they're, experienced it, but also they have this still facade, and I found it very fitting for the role of Asta. That's what, again, the main reason why I decided that he's the model, because it just I just like, there's both this fascination with the beauty of this world, but at the same time, there's an extreme abusive environment in there, with being fashion one of the economically, like it's one of the highest, like in terms of richness, like industries in the world. I think it's third officially. And, but at the same time, people are mainly working for free, trying like, to survive. And, it's basically a lot of like people being treated, to be honest, like meat. And I was trying to portray that in the film as well. This type of like extreme coldness and again, this world of facades. And that's why it was very important to me to convey that even though I knew that it's very risky, because it's not a classical way, I think, to put a main character who doesn't express too many emotions. But I felt like it was very important, and for me it felt honest, and for me it felt like it does, in my opinion, represent our times we're at. Um, and yeah, it's like it was definitely a personal also, right? Of course, because I'm also like, of course, confronting myself with these questions. I'm obsessed with being a filmmaker, but is my whole identity based on being a filmmaker or not? And it's like kind of this type of question also fits very well with Asta and his expression of his identity or trying to understand what his identity is. That's why I found also Zoe's character very important because I think she basically had that courage to ask that question. And that's for me, actually, for me, the main conflict actually in this whole film between Asta and Zoe, even though Zoe disappears for the majority of the film, but I really wanted it to consciously make it that, we feel her presence even when she's not there. So yeah.
Yes, and this great moment when we see the new big model David on the huge wall.
Yeah,
Yes, when it's
yeah.
like a moment when you are s- you're famous and you disappear in a second moment very quickly. Could you tell us something more about the choices of the framing, the like colors of your film? Whom did you work with? So about the style of your movie.
Okay. That's a very big question because it's like a lot of elements that obviously went into it. Maybe I can start in that sense that I definitely wanted to narrate two important aspects. First of all, again, this atmosphere. I was trying to create this atmosphere as if we're watching a new age myth, that these characters are not just ordinary people, that they have this like presence to them that is very like you can feel it, even though they don't do that much. And at the same time, trying to narrate also another type of fashion film because normally, like we know, I don't know, we know Neon Demon, we know, I don't know, very like a lot of fashion films which are mainly related to Paris, so it's a very particular picture. It's usually very colorful, very bright, very pretty, you can say, even in some sense. And then that's why I felt like it's not Berlin, it's not honest. Berlin is different. Berlin has this like certain brutality in their choices, and it has like as if you might have noticed, very limited color palette. They love black, gray, blue, maybe leather, but like it's like very, very particular style, and I felt like it was very important to make it consciously part of the film language and not trying to pretend as if it's like a film about Paris or New York or whatever. Um, and regarding the frame, so it was obviously definitely as well important, like working with framing and camera language in that sense that, especially like working with Aston, his reflection, it was definitely a very like important to me to know exactly how it will look like, how it will work. We tested a lot beforehand, how it works because so he was obviously we were shooting the same frame twice, and like in the first take it's like actor plays Asta, and in the second take actor plays reflection, and it was very, very detailed. And we had to also like, for example, the kissing scene, it was so particular because we wanted that the first kiss is intentionally right on the time, at exactly the same time. And at the same, but the rest, it's like kind of unsynchronized. And it's not as simple as it sounds, like it was very technical, like this, my first ADP, as she was sitting there, like with the timer, and she would be like, Ido, and I would say, kiss, okay? And it's just like a very technical thing, but yeah, and also regarding the framing, I just love close-ups. I love being close to characters and close to the details and being able to see every single twitch of an eye. I think that's definitely a big magic of cinema, to be able to see that and to experience that, um, and also um, I don't know where to go because there's so many elements, of course, to it that we thought of. I mean, even right now, I'm sitting in a chair actually that we used for the scene where the Zoe is being like killed in that mirror. Um, like it's like also was a very conscious element, like using like for example, interior designs, we wanted to have a lot of flowers in the hotel room, being like conscious contrast. It's like, the hotel room is warm, but like thick, warm, and like with flowers, so very decadent, like as if it's like beauty, but like a fading beauty, a beauty that's dying. And at the same time, in contrast that the rest of the locations were intentionally very cold, very minimal, that they have like a lot of concrete textures, glass textures, metal textures. And it was again very conscious choice of locations as well, and like in how interior looks like, and because it was also intentional that the whole film takes part in the interior except with the very last shot. Um, that we basically are never outside, we never have a space to breathe, basically, and at the same time to maintain that feeling of this microcosmos that they live in, the characters. Obviously, also maybe an important part of working with social media, like those scenes with the, screens and videos that the characters look at. Benjamin Meyer, the DOP, had a great idea, like because initially I just wanted to be animated, but he said, no, let's record the real screen of the phone. And he found the right lens and we tested it. It looked great. You can see this texture of the screen and of the pixels, even though it's not that it's like too pixelated, but you can still sense it's suddenly so physical, and really like that effect, and we decided to go for it as well. There was a lot of testing and figuring out and trying to see, okay, what works, what doesn't, and obviously costumes, of course, like a very big part of the film language. Like, because it's like interesting to convey, how do you convey that it's a cold atmosphere, but at the same time it's sexual, like you're objectifying the characters as well, like consciously objectifying. And at the same time, of course, give the every character an identity and individuality. It was like again a very detailed process, but I love this process. I love being very detailed in preparations because I really believe that sometimes there are these films that you watch again and again and you notice more and more stuff. That's what I'm trying to do. And
I would like to ask you, what are you working on now? And it would be the last question. And also, if you would recommend your school, because you've finished the school, yes, you Babelsberg, yes, your film school, how would you recommend it? So your projects now, and how would you recommend
work
the
on.
school you finished?
Okay, so the thing is, funny enough, I'm not fully finished. This film was my bachelor graduation film,
Okay.
and right now I'm in my master's. And in master's, you have a chance to develop your first feature film, and that's what I'm currently working on. So it's gonna be a psychothriller melodrama, and so it's on one hand it's very like me, but at the same time it's very different from Power of the Mirror. It's about a couple where a young man he develops like severe sleepwalking disorder, and he starts like every night to encounter someone during his sleepwalking episodes, and we don't know whom because we don't see his dreams. We observe him from the outside, from the perspective of his partner Nora, and we see that she develops this paranoia and obsession, and how this whole situation affects the relationship and how it spirals down, where you are not sure, is it just a dream or should we take it seriously? And yeah, and suddenly the third person indeed appears, and it gets crazy, it gets a bit bloody. But yeah, it's gonna be a crazy film, but we are working on it, we're writing it, and so again, very in my style, but at the same time, very like still very romantic. And there we definitely want to work with like, professional actors because it's really emotional film, and we need to really find also the new language for that. Yes, and regarding other stuff, I also currently work in theater as well, so I'm developing also a first theater production, like an independent one. We'll see where that goes. And regarding the school, I definitely would recommend my school simply because, being able to make films, being able to have such a support, throughout your studies with your films, you know, having such a big variety of options how you can make your films, having so many side projects you can do. It's amazing, and I'll always be grateful to my school for that. It's very few of us. They take like basically 8 people per year for directing and bachelor and 4 people per year for masters. But it's a very like but that's also, you know, it's hard to get in, but it's a very family atmosphere, you know, it's very supportive environment. So I definitely would recommend the school for anyone interested. You need to speak German though, because the studies are in German. But yeah, again, we have like great professors, great seminars, and I really like our film school because it became my safe space and my environment where I can be really creative and really figure out what do I want to do as a filmmaker, basically. Yeah.
Thank you, Ido. That's great. And thanks for the meeting.
Thank you.
You might not see, but there are people behind the computer.
But
Thank you.
are you in the main room where
We
we
are,
were?
yes, the
Oh,
place
wow.
is
Okay. So
Academy
it's
of
a big
Fine
room.
Arts.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good to know.
So thanks a lot for this evening, and it was great to have you here in Krakow, and I hope we see again in the future. Good luck with your projects.
Thank
Thanks
you
a
so
lot,
much.
and have a
And
nice day.
big success to everyone and good luck.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.